It's fairly commonplace for blind people to get guide dogs, and as an animal lover, I was quick to start applying for schools as soon as I turned 18. And at age 19, I received my first guide dog from Guide Dogs of America in Sylmar, California. Tika is the goofiest black lab. She's intelligent, she's snuggly, she's everything you could ever want in a dog. I told them I wanted a dog that could handle any situation in life because I didn't have life quite figured out yet. And they gave me Tika. Tika was my guide dog for more than 6.5 years. So believe me when I say we went through a lot together, especially considering that I was newly independent when I got her. I was 19 living in my first apartment. Not only did I take her to the Space Needle the first weekend she was home, but we went to Vegas a couple times, we went through massage school together, and we were even homeless at one time together. The guide dog school did a great job at preparing us for situations that we might encounter with our guide dogs in public, but they didn't prepare us for the day that we'd have to retire them. Tika not only had some major digestive issues that I couldn't seem to resolve, but she also picked up a bad habit of eating foreign objects, thanks to people feeding her without my consent behind my back. It is crucial to respect guide dog handlers and the training that these animals go through, especially when it comes to rules like not feeding them. You let the handler do that. So ultimately, Tika's newfound habit of scavenging for foreign objects and random pieces of food on the ground landed us with some pretty hefty vet bills, some emergency vet bills, and she almost lost her life at one point. It was actually super traumatizing. One morning I woke up at about 4:15 a.m. and slipped in a pile of puke on the ground. But it turns out that it wasn't just puke, it was blood. And the blood was all over the room, and Tika's breathing was shallow. I couldn't get a hold of anybody, and I had to get her to the emergency vet. Of course, there's no dog ambulance. I couldn't get a hold of anybody on the phone, so I had to call an Uber. And I'm like, you know what, screw it. If they charge me a cleaning fee, whatever, I'll just put a towel down. But I had to get her to the vet, and luckily we were able to get there by 5 a.m. So we pull up to the emergency vet clinic, and it's still dark outside. I'm trying to pull Tika out of the car as she's still vomiting on the towel. I'm crying, can barely keep myself together, when I hear a voice from behind me go, "Sadie!" I turn around, and my cousin Terrence walks up to me. Him and his wife were at the same vet clinic that night because they had to euthanize their dog. Small fucking world. So fast forward like an hour, and they've got Tika on some IV fluids and they're stabilizing her, but they want to keep her for the rest of the day. And that's good and great and all, but the only problem was that they wanted about $1,100 down before I left, which was not even the total cost. And I had about $35 in my bank account, and I was maxed out on my care credit, so I was SOL. So I was freaking out and honestly thought that I was gonna get arrested. So what I ended up doing was calling Care Credit, and thankfully they were open because they're located on the East Coast. I explained the situation, and they ended up raising my credit limit so I could pay for the vet appointment. Tika lived! She lived to see another day, but the only sad part is that I had to retire her. I had to make the decision that day. When I left her at the emergency vet that morning, I took myself to Sherry's. With all the money I had left, I took an Uber to Sherry's, I had a meal that I could barely get through, and I had my landlady come pick me up and take me home. Throughout the day, I was so lost that day. I called the guide dog school and let them know about my decision, and I explained what was going on. I even went to work even though it was my day off, and I just sat there in the break room and just stared off blankly and talked about Tika to anyone that was willing to listen. My grandpa and his partner love dogs, and they have a couple big dogs themselves, and they even own a doggy boutique on the coast. And they were always willing to help me out with vet expenses when I asked, but I don't like to ask too much of people. But naturally I was like, maybe they would want to take Tika. And of course they did. My grandpa lives on the Oregon coast, and I haven't been out there to see them or Tika since they picked Tika up 2 years ago. But recently, I got to visit her. We're on our way to see Tika. I ended up going out there with my mom, my teenage sister, and my boyfriend. Yes, we all went out to the coast, like a 2-hour drive, to see a dog. Yeah, we wanted to see my grandpa and his partner too, but mainly the dog. Tika? Tika? Hi, sweetie. Who is it? exactly expect Tika to get all excited like some dogs do when they haven't seen their owners in a really long time. But, you know, I was kind of hoping for it, you know? I thought you'd be happier to see me.
Yeah, she's bouncing.
She's bouncing.
Look at her.
What are you doing? Regardless of her mediocre reaction to my presence, it was just nice to have her in my arms. I can't believe how fluffy she's gotten. Like, not just hairy and furry, but like, she's put on some pounds because she's not a working dog no more. And I guess she's starting to get cataracts in one eye, so yes, the former guide dog is starting to go blind.
Tika, you're so pretty.
Honestly, she's having the best retirement that I could have hoped for. And a lot of people offered to take her, but I was very selective about who I chose. Even though I hadn't had Tika in over 2 years, it was still hard to go home without her. I wanted to take her with me. So now that I've told you the story about my former guide dog and you know she's retired, you might be wondering if I plan on getting another guide dog, because I get that question all the time. And it's not a simple yes or a no answer, because there's a lot of factors that influence my decision. But ultimately what I've decided is that I do want another guide dog, but I'd like to save some money and buy a house before I do that. I would like to be comfortable with my own life before I add another dog into the mix, you know? If you're still watching, I greatly appreciate you letting me educate you. It's my goal to not just show my face online, but to make a difference. And it all starts with you and whoever else is watching out there. But if you like my content and you want more full-length videos like this, please like, subscribe, and interact with me in the comments. Love you guys!